ago. Started 10 years ago with a gentleman named Robert. And I found Robert on Facebook when I was homeless and living in my car and desperately trying to find a landlord who would take my Section 8 housing voucher. Next to impossible, right? And it was on Facebook. I was on every local, Facebook housing site. I mean, I was just doing everything I possibly could. And somebody commented on one of my posts and said something about, hey, reach out to this gentleman named Robert. He's a local real estate agent. He's very compassionate. He's very kind. He might be able to help you. So I reached out to Robert and I had a conversation with him where, like, I will literally, despite my brain injury, I will never forget where I was at, where I was parked at, because I was living in my car at the time, what I was wearing, how I was feeling. I mean, I remember every single detail of this moment of my life because it was the first time since I don't even know when that I actually felt like somebody cared. Like that there was actually a person in this world that cared about my situation. So I remember talking to him and I remember really connecting with him, and he was telling me that he was a real estate agent. He was telling me that his mom had a Section 8 voucher as well. And he was explaining to me, he just had compassion. He had empathy. He cared. And so that moment really, really stood out for me. Fast forward a year, right? A year later, I'm on the receiving end of this program called Secret Santa that, again, I had found on Facebook. And it was facilitated by a woman named Monica. And basically what she did was she matched families in need, throughout Santa Cruz County with families within her church, that had money that, wanted to help. And so I had been on the receiving end and for a couple of years at that point. And this year in particular, she contacted me and said, come and pick up, your gifts. And every year, I mean, it was just such a blessing because, I could never afford to get gifts for my daughter. And so I knew that it was going to be, a blessing. And so I was really excited to go and pick them up, but I couldn't because I was having a car key ignition problem, which was going to take a specialized mechanic, which was going to be really expensive. And at the time I was an Uber driver, right? So I couldn't even work. And it was just really, really stressful. And so I explained to her, oh, I wish I could, but I can't because of this problem and everything else. And she said, well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to have a locksmith mechanic at your house at 8 o'clock in the morning to fix it for free. And, I was astounded, thank you. Very, very grateful. I couldn't believe it. I was really, really in shock. And so the next thing that happened was this gentleman came. His name was Chris Craig. And he was working on my car, kind of tinkering around, fixing things. And as he was working on my car, I was really, really curious to understand how all of this was connecting, because another connection that I had made is that Monica, the woman who facilitates Secret Santa, was married to Robert, the real estate agent who I had spoken to on the phone in a time of total despair and actually, felt like somebody heard me and somebody cared. So they're married, he cared, she does Secret Santa, and now there's this guy here who's like fixing my car for free. It was just like, what is this? Like, who are these people, right? And so I asked Chris, because I'm talking to him and I'm just really kind of trying to get to the bottom of it, right? And I said, how do you know Monica and Robert, And he said, yeah. He said, I go to church with them. We go to Gateway. You should come and check it out sometime. And I remember in that moment that something shifted in me, not profoundly, not 100%, but enough to where I went. And that's huge for me. That's huge considering that, I was raised by my dad in the Catholic Church and sexually abused and everything else that had happened for me, all of the negative associations that I had with the church. Just the fact that I went in and of itself is definitely a small miracle. And the reason why I went is because there was something that clicked in my head when he told me that. And I remembered in that moment an old saying that I had read in a self-help book at some point years back that said, when you want what people have, you do what they do. And I remember thinking to myself, you know what? I want what these people have. I want to not only be in a better position financially in my life, but more importantly, I want to have a heart towards giving, towards helping. And so I'm just going to go and check it out. It's not going to kill me to step foot into a church. And I did. And it was a very different experience. Obviously, and non-denominational Christ-based church is going to be very different than a Catholic church. And so It was great. It was great. And I didn't go really consistently at first, but as momentum picked up and as I started getting a little bit more into prayer and as I kind of started meeting people at the church, and I already knew Chris and I already knew Monica and I already knew Robert. So I knew, a couple people there already, which definitely helped. The momentum started to build and started to grow. And before you knew it, I was going every Sunday, and before you knew it, it was the most important thing I was doing every week. And then, before you knew it, I was really starting to pray. And then the more I started to pray, the more I started to really, really experience miracles in my life, like losing 75 pounds in 6 months, quitting smoking over a pack of cigarettes a day, transformation in my relationships, in my mind. I mean, it's just been incredible ever since. And it keeps getting better and better and better. And so now the most recent thing that's been happening is that God has made it very clear the ministry that I'm being called into, which is that of a healing intercessor. And I love it. I love it. Because I remember I saw a spiritual counselor a while back and she told me, Amy, God's calling you into ministry. And I thought to myself, what do you mean? Like, I'm not a preacher. I'm not going to stand in the pulpit. I don't do all that. Come to find out, there's actually a lot of different forms of ministry, like tons, right? And so as I started looking into it, I kind of had my choices, the things that I wanted, but I don't know. And so Almighty just revealed it to me, and he did. So I'm a healing intercessor. Yay! I love it. And I could not have picked a better ministry. I mean, it's just, it's God. So anyway, as a healing intercessor, I'm trusting with a faith that is so profound, that is so unshakable, that is so untouchable, that it's just a matter of time. And I don't know how, and I don't know where, and I don't know when, and I don't know, any of the details. I just know who, and the who is Jesus.